Welcome to The Middle, a podcast about that messy middle in between job loss and the comeback, told by people who've lived it. From CEOs to veterans, athletes to analysts, we talk to folks navigating the unexpected turns in their careers and what comes next when the plan falls apart. These honest conversations will move you, make you think, and maybe even inspire you to leap into something new. Because behind every career pivot is someone just trying to figure it all out. Are you happy your Dodgers won?
I am.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I mean, you know what? It was good to see that the fact that they're playing as a team. Back in the days, the high-speed player were always treated like a king. They were catered to him, this, but then the roles has been reversed for the player that's Otani. He's the most humble, very approachable, super nice, like non-confrontational. Just it consistently has a smile, and I think because of that style he came in there, I guess it's been very infected in the team where you see right away they're very protective of him. He makes sure that when he goes onto the field, he says hi to the other team
I noticed
and to
that.
everybody. And he shows respect because he's like, and you can now see the other opponents are waiting for him to say hi to him. And they're like, hey, they're just so excited to see us. So that shows a lot of respect. And that shows like what type of individual he is. And it doesn't matter. The money doesn't make the person. It's a person who creates and builds that infrastructure within to show with everybody else like, hey guys, we're not, we shouldn't be dealing with like, hey, this guy's bigger than me. This everybody's equal. And one person, again, it was Otani where he was filling up the cups and putting it on top of the coolant.
I saw this clip where he was just at the Gatorade, like filling up the cups and just, it's that killing time, but also being a good teammate.
Absolutely. So that kind of shows you like, we shouldn't treat people like, bigger than what they are. Everybody should be humble. Everybody should be cool. Everybody should be helping each other out and have fun. That's the whole goal, is having fun, having a great time.
Well, considering I was rooting for Toronto this year, let's move on to your story. And I want to go back to June 14th, 2024. And I'll set the stage for listeners. You were working at Apple, specifically Apple Music and Apple Music Radio. You had been with them for 9 years and you were laid off. So I want to start there. How did it go down? What was happening? What happened that day?
So we knew June 14th was going to be our last day. Because since they were laying off over, I think, more than 100 employees, they had to give us like, I think, the 60-day notice or 90-day
notice.
Yeah, the warrant notice. So, I knew about this since April, and towards the end of April, we got a all hands, or like a first thing Monday morning, 8 a.m. I got a 1-on-1 with HR and my manager. They kind of told us, like, hey, just so you know that your positions be eliminated. But they also kind of told us like, there's our 2 positions that will be available for you guys to apply. Still, you kind of, I guess, re-interviewing for your job. So, right away we had to do the process. And a lot of us because like myself and then amongst other people, we've been there from the very beginning of when it was just an idea that we were coming up with. So I was there before the launch. We were the small staff the beginners.
And I want to back up real quick. So you and your team were working on Apple Radio.
Yes, yeah. Yeah,
so
we're the ones that created and built Apple Music Radio. I was there from the very beginning of that, and then in thinking in my mind, so, okay, we should be okay. There's a couple positions here in Los Angeles, a couple positions in New York, a couple positions in Nashville, and a couple positions in London. But unfortunately, when that happened, it became Hunger Games. So it was like 20 of us applying for 2 positions, and then prior to that. So they're like, hey, we're doing some reorging. We're going to have you start working on these projects. But these projects were meant for us to fail. These projects were consistent. We're making us to fail. No introduction. No sense of
onboarding or anything.
Not even. No, it's just like, hey, this is how it's going to be done. This is something new. Kind of give informing us or training us on what we should be looking at. Nope. Here's a project. Here you go. go for it. And then all of a sudden we had to do like a it was a 6 person round of approval, which is kind of like odd because that's something I've never really dealt with. I know there was a couple of times that we worked with bigger teams that we had to send approvals for, for the artist, manager. Then it came down to the editorial side, and then it comes to us. But it was now like everybody across the board, and they're like, why haven't you followed the steps? Why does it sound this way? I said, well, you guys never told us, gave us any clear instructions. How did you want us to be these elements to be produced and used? And and they would even physically go in there and get our work and mess it up. They would go in internally and set it up, which is it's happened. Yeah,
What?
not to not to myself, but to some other people that I spoke to. They're like, hey man, there's stuff that we were looking at, and all of a sudden we would get pushed back and say like, hey, all this stuff is, there's just all these errors, and we're like, but when I approved them, none of these errors were there. And so it just so happens that over the weekend, come out of the weekend, something when Monday morning came around, like, hey, these errors are coming up, all this stuff. When it was the it was airing on the radio, these were the errors, this is this and that. And we're like, I got to a point that I had to screenshot a lot of the stuff that I was doing. Then they would even argue back like, oh, you photoshopped it. You just say, nope, the timestamp is here, this and that. Like it got to that bad. So they knew what they were doing. They needed a to bring down the head count.
That has to be, I mean, was it very, when you said when you started it, like you kind of grew it. It started very startup-y almost of this idea, and you blossomed it into, I mean, I listen to Apple Radio almost every day now.
Yeah, no, it's so yeah. For when it first started, it was pretty much when we're. It was like I said, it was a startup. It was a very like a startup ish type of style. The way how they sold it to me, like, hey, we're doing a startup. It's a radio station, online radio station, but they said it's part of. They said Apple was funding it, so we're like, okay, that's good to know. So we're just thinking that something Apple was doing, that they were like Shazam, because we just thought there was another department from inside the company. But then they were like, the people that I was talking to, they were working for Beats by Dre. So they were telling me like, hey, because of the merger, we're going to be working on a different project. We just need a bunch of radio people in a room. We just got to think of some ideas. What can we build? What are the, format? So all this stuff was taking place, within a couple of weeks. We were like, let's just start creating, let's start building, let's start using our contacts and see where it goes from there. So little by little, we just started jumping in the studio. We're using Will.i.am Studio in Hollywood. We were using studios, renting out studios. We were recording at the artist's home with some Zoom mics and everything. We were did everything there, and I mean that's all we needed. The content was there. You're dealing with people who love music, so you've had stories for days when it comes to playing some of the songs. Like we worked with Q-Tip. Q-Tip was a legend in the music, and not only that, like a lot of people didn't know, he produced a lot of music. He's written for a lot of music. He's worked with so many artists that there's a lot of them they don't know about. So we had those interviews, we had those conversations. So we started from there, and then we worked our way up to like having Drake as a radio show, the one I helped produce together. From there we worked with Travis Scott, Nicki Minaj. Then then he was like, hey Rick, Spanish, let's have you go to Mexico. Went to Mexico, worked for the land artist, worked for to I was consistently in Miami because I had to work with like Bad Bunny, J Balvin, Osuna, Anuel, like all these land artists to build these shows from nothing to something. It to me, it shows like when everybody like when applying for a job, like, hey, can you show us something that what you have done? Yeah, I just kind of take the link from Apple Music and I just dump it in there.
That's the
I was like,
easiest portfolio ever.
that's it. And it's like, and I've gotten hit up like, hey, you just put a link for the Apple Music Radio. I said, yeah, I helped build that. That's like that's like my success.
Did you ever have to like pinch yourself at points of not only, because it sounds like you had such creative freedom, or you didn't have a lot of guardrails at least. So not only from a creativity aspect, but then just the ideas and the folks and the people you got to pull in and work with. Was it ever just, did you ever have a moment you were like, just pinch me?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There was times when in the very beginning where I was like, I can't believe I am in the situation, working with an artist that I actually look up to, and seeing that, just like, no, this is so amazing. I can't believe I'm here working with them. And then, when you have that surreal moment when you're take the time when you're done recording, and you've kind of created a trust within the team. Like, I'll say this, Bad Bunny was just an artist that had a great hit, but he Apple, I flew to Miami to record 8 episodes for a radio show that we were producing, and I had to work with him for 8 hours in the studio, and seeing him that from a very small artist to what the beast that he is now, and the team, how they've grown successfully. And I've always, every artist that I've worked with, I've always taken away a little piece of them to take with me along my journey, because I think, what they've done something that was led them to success.
One of our previous guests a few episodes ago, JT, used to work for Comcast, but he said that they did a lot of music sponsorships. And so one of them was with Mariah Carey back in 2008, 2009. And he said, so he had to go to the shoot where she was at. And he said at one point she walked up to him and put her hand on his arm and was like, thank you for doing this. Like, he was the one that coordinated everything. He was like, by far, I was not that person in any way. But he was like, she made you feel so like you were the only important person. You were the only one. She treated you like she knew everything and every little contribution you had made to that up to that point. And he was like, it's just such a different side to see.
Along those lines, like, and like Jennifer Lopez, I've had the opportunity when I was working in at a radio station, and there was a time we were doing like a live broadcast from a concert, and JLo was part of it. Something similar like that happened to me, where her manager will come in, they will go into the recording area, and there's like, who doesn't need to be here, and so he will kick everybody out, which I didn't like at all, because as a person that, as part of the team, and producing and creating content, everybody in that room needs to be in that room. And so he made sure that he tried to kick as many people out, until the point, until the on-air personality said, hey guy, everybody needs to be here. So we don't have to do the interview. We could just walk away from it. But then this is where I saw where that part came in, exactly that whole Mariah Carey moment, where she came in, she looked at everybody's eyes, says, hello, how you doing? Great. Sits down, does the interview, stops the interview, looks at everybody's eyes, and shakes everybody's hand, says, hey, it was really, really nice meeting you. Thank you so much, and walks away. To me, there's a moment there I was like, man, fuck this person. But then there was another point where I was like, oh, I know what they did. They kept the most important people in the room, so to make sure that she says hi to the least people, but those are the most important people in that room. And I was like, I saw what you did there.
Going back to Apple, how are you using AI, especially as generative AI exploded onto the scene a few years ago?
We were training an AI to do our job, and I saw that about a year into it. And then when it got to a point where I was using it on a day-to-day basis to do the job, I was like, oh, this is going to happen a lot faster than I thought. And yeah, and it did.
So was it framed as a tool? Was that kind of how it was introduced? A productivity tool, you can do things faster. I mean, everything we probably hear in so many other companies across America right now.
Yep, it's like, hey, look over here. Like, look over here. Don't worry, your job's gonna be fine. It's just a tool to help you. You don't have to worry about long editing hours, long editing sessions. You don't have to worry about spending 5 or 6 hours editing the clips and doing X, Y, and Z. This will do it for you. So you just have to do the bare minimum, and so that you can work on a little bit more, being on the creative side.
Shed the low value work so you can be more creative.
Exactly.
For your team, especially, what did success look like before AI came in?
The success was when it started airing, when we fully worked on a project from scratch, putting it together, working with the artist, and giving it back to the artist so they could listen back to it, and making sure that they approved everything. The fact that you saw the same vision as they saw it, and for them to come back to say, this is perfect, this is exactly what we're looking for, we're good to go. And then once it airs, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that, this is something I put together. This is something I worked hand in hand with a big artist. And to see that being put on the radio and listening back to it, it's like you're just like, man, I can't believe this has happened. And 10 years into it, I still had that feeling. I still had that the butterfly feeling when I listened back to a show that I fully produced and fully done, where I was like, damn, this sounds really, really good. Or you could be like, damn, that could sound better. That could sound a little tighter. You could sound this. But that's, that's your in your mind putting that together. But then when the artist saying, I love this, this is great.
As AI was being introduced, what were people really saying about it? Yes, it was being framed as a tool. Was that kind of taken at face value, or was there this suspicion underneath?
We were aware of it. We didn't know if that was going to take our gig because we were always saying like, well, you still need a person to record. You still need, a person to produce, like to create content for this radio show. You need to do coaching as well, which an AI cannot do at the time. That was just a tool. That was something that, full editing is still need to be done. I do know that they still need humans to edit radio shows. I mean, from a team of 10 to 15 people, now there's only two or three. We knew there was other departments that were there, that were being created, that were being built, not along us, but we heard about the car department, and we thought, oh cool, and we're saying that's being completely vanished. They're like, okay, that pretty much, that's where everything is going to be done. But then, yeah, when we saw that it was on the radio side, we're like, oh man, but there's so much work that needs to be done. We still have XY radio stations that still needs to be launched. We still have, all this stuff, and they don't worry about it. We're just it's not needed anymore.
You said earlier, I wanted to ask, how long did it take you to kind of realize that like AI is not just a tool, it might be something more, and there might be bigger goals for your team?
With everything else, you just kind of see where everything is going. Simplicity. How do you make stuff taking 3 or 4 hours for the job? It could take some minutes. And so, when I started seeing that, I was like, okay, this is going to be something that is going to be, there's so many people say, then don't use it. I said, okay, cool. Don't use it. But then you become a disgruntled employee. Then you become that employee where like, this is a person who is not being a team player. So
There.
and then we have to figure out like what can we do to transition them out to a different area, or have them kind of like, maybe this is the time we start incorporating the AI to do a lot more work, or having them, you know so-called, they're messing up. This is a great way to start a file. This is a great way to start a case on them, to give them, hey, you weren't doing X, Y, and Z, so now it's for you to kind of go on. You have already two written ups. You don't want that either.
You said, I think in a LinkedIn post, that AI wasn't helping you, it was studying you. And I wanted to ask you, like, what do you mean by that?
Even though that's running in the background more, it's what I'm uploading and what I'm entering into the system, it's picking that up. And so, to the point that it's like, oh, this is what I'm looking for. This is when I render everything and put it into the system, and then it's going to know like, okay, because of this song a couple weeks ago, it was a bad transition. Guess what? Now it picked it up. Like, okay, this song gets highlighted, the beginning and the end, saying, okay, it has to be smoother. So now it picks it up on the fact that it's like, even if the transition might be a little wobbly, it would double check to make sure that doesn't sound bad, and it makes the transition even that much easier, smoother. So I've noticed that those are the small little things where I was like, oh, it's picking up the way I'm thinking, the way I'm listening to things, the way it should run. And what I meant by it, because it's study. It has to study you, because eventually it's supposed to be automated. So it has to think like you, it has to write like you, it has to be like you. It has to study you, but it's studying by the input that you're putting into the system.
I will say I use ChatGPT the most to be my editor. So I will say, check this for grammar, because I type like I talk. It's how I write. It's how I get thoughts out of my brain. And then I'll still do my own finessing. But, and I will say, from that perspective, I've loved AI, because I am sure there were things that, I didn't say them the best, or I missed punctuation. And now I have a built-in thing that can catch it, as long as I upload everything and do it all right. But it is that line of like, where do you draw the line, and where do you say, this is a great tool to make me sound better, and this tool is becoming me. and then I am needed less and less. That is a very scary thought. As those changes were happening on your team, and you said that things were being changed out and AI was studying you, did you ever think, like, maybe it's me? Maybe I'm the one that's not getting it. Maybe I'm the one that's not keeping up. Did you ever think anything like that?
Towards the very end, I think we started seeing a lot of those changes. You had to really made you guess, like, am I just getting worse as a person? Am my mind's getting worse? Am I not doing the stuff like I was doing before? Am I am I going too dumb?
Like, am I regressing? Yeah.
And so, but that's built. I mean, the thing is that that's put in place. That's to me, I think that was built for us to think that way and see that, did I oversee this? Did I miss this? How did I miss this? Like, this is something I don't miss all the time. There's tools that was put in place. You ask for stuff, and then you just have to guess it, and it's just a lot of the stuff that was given to you that you needed to do on your day-to-day basis. A lot of stuff was slowly removed, letting you kind of fail. And then when you saw those things you failed, they were like, why didn't you think outside the box? Why didn't you think ahead? Why didn't you think that you should have done X, Y, and Z? Why did you double check? Because we had so much on our plate that we were like, I didn't know we started putting times on stuff that we were building. We knew this was the end date. We had to get everything done by a certain time and get it reviewed and all that stuff. And yeah, it was a lot of that stuff that was going on.
After your layoff, did you still keep in touch with people from Apple? Was anyone surprised about what had happened to you and your team? Did anyone reach out?
One of my LinkedIn posts that went like mega viral on LinkedIn was the fact that when you leave the company, once you get that email changed, people start responding to you. You're nothing. They don't need you anymore. And then there's so many people that has stopped replying to me, stop answering my calls, stop texting me, because of the fact that they're like, now that I have some time, like, hey man, let's go hang out, let's go grab a beer, let's go do this, let's go that. They're thinking that I'm asking for a job. I was like, dude, no, that's not it. And so there's only been like very handful of people now that I keep close to my circle, and it's sad to see that everybody else. But I was like, okay, there will be a point in time, sometime down the road, where it's gonna be different.
Do you remember what that first day was like after June 14th?
It was sad because I remember walking out with my box of things that I got from my desk and uploading it, putting it into my car and driving away and leaving my key card on my desk. And that was it. It was extremely sad. It was, a lot of emotions. What's next? What's the next chapter? What was that going to look like? And
Were you already thinking about that, like, in the car?
leading up, the week leading up to it was so stressful because I had people that was around me that was being positive, that was telling me, hey, things are going to work out, things are going to be okay. I'm about 2 years of being unemployed, not working from a being, say, employed from a big company. But I just to me, I was like, that was pretty much the cream of the not the cream of the, it was just the beginning of what disaster was going to happen. I mean, that was.
Did you think you'd bounce back quickly? I mean, especially having Apple on your resume, kind of like, all right, cool, I'll find something else.
Yeah, I did. I thought so. But then I didn't know how bad the economy was going to get afterwards. When I started seeing how this is just getting bad, it's getting bad to worse. And then when I started seeing how other companies are still silently laying off people, like, I've talked to a couple of people from TikTok. They've been silently laying off people. I've talked to people from Apple again. They're silently laying off people as well. I've talking to other people from Universal Music. Slowly, they're still laying off people. I mean, this is, you open up and you see Meta got rid of 30,000, or I'm sorry, Amazon 30,000 employees. You used to have UPS, you have Target, you have I know there's a couple other people that I'm missing, but there's by the thousands, and they're going riding on the AI bubble.
What did you do after being laid off?
I think this is where the real pot the real energy really kicks in, because from the when I left Apple June 14th, I took some time off. I'm gonna take a sabbatical, and my lease on my apartment was up. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna cut my lease for my apartment. I'm gonna take the rest of the year, and I'm just gonna travel. So I went to Medellin, Colombia. I had a lot of friends that worked in the music industry, and I stayed there for a month. I came back up to back here, stayed with my mom and friends and family, and then was here for about a few weeks, and then I flew out to Southeast Asia. So I stayed in Thailand for about a month. Went from Thailand to Cambodia to Vietnam to Philippines to Japan, to Taiwan and back to LA. And so I came back to LA for the holidays, and then thinking I was like, okay, I'm gonna head back to South America. I'm staying in Altadena, and January 7th or the 17th, 16th or 17th, one of those two. That's when we had the Palisades and Altadena fires, and we were evacuated, and the place where I was living at completely burned down. And so we were kind of figuring out where to stay at. Now, before that, I skipped a very, very major part. When I came back from Asia and in December, um, I put all my stuff into storage, and I came back to a new lock of my storage. And when I was able to open up a lock, all my stuff was gone. Everything was stolen. Everything that I've ever worked on, my laptops, my hard drives, my clothes, my jewelry, everything gone, completely gone. The only thing that was left in the storage was a couch, my flat screen TV, and a few chairs. That's it. That was the only thing that was left in there, and it was an inside job from the actual storage company. So, when the fire, when, and the reason why I went back to say that, because when we had to evacuate from where I was staying at, they're like, "Hey, dude, get your stuff." I just looked at my luggage and I just bolted it, and I said, "I'm ready to go." Grab my backpack, put my laptop in my backpack, and I was like, "Let's roll." And that's all I have. And so, you know, I was I was couch surfing for 2 or 3 months, and then shortly after that, I was in a relationship that fell apart because, she said that I was being a little bit too needy. Just for the fact that never mind all the stuff that was going on in my life, I hate
Yeah.
being too needy. So that's that having that one person to be in my support system wasn't that support, so that person walked away from me. And then and yeah, and then just kind of slowly coming back into realization. It's like, what's going on? And then I've applied to over 2,500 jobs, and not even one call back. Yeah, I just started one thing. I started being very active on LinkedIn, doing a lot of posts, being very vulnerable. And luckily, because of that, I noticed there was a community out there that was wanted to help each other, that wanted to help other people, that say, "Hey, I think you'll be great for this role. I think you'll be great to talk to this person. You'll be able to great to connect you with this person." And majority of us stuff, I've been very, very lucky on talking to a lot of people in the industry, working things out. Like, "Hey, I know somebody we're looking for some consultation." Talk to this person, picked up a gig there. Talk to another person for consultation, picked up a gig there for a couple months. Work for a month-to-month basis, 4 weeks. And so, those are the things I've worked on. And so that was kind of keeping me afloat, kind of getting me back to normal. There's companies that say, "Hey, I need you to be in Los Angeles. I need you to stay in California." And I'm like, just so you know, as of early next year, after January of 2026, I am looking to leave the US because I need to find some place to stay. That the rent is gonna be $500 or $600 a month, and food is gonna be a lot cheaper. And
Yeah.
I got
Life was
the way
cheaper.
that life is living, so I need to find somewhere that's gonna be easier for me to live. I think as a human, as somebody that we work our asses off, I think that those are small little wins that we can enjoy. I think small wins is not gonna be like, "Hey, I bought milk today. Yay! I bought a carton of eggs. Yay!" That should be a daily basis. That's what we don't know. Can I afford this? Can I afford that? Can I afford this? It's like, to
Hmm.
me, that's where the part where I'm kind of like, damn, I can't believe I'm second guessing on buying this bread. Am I second guessing buying this meat? Am I second guessing, like, do I really need to drink this milk, or do I really need to get this? These are stuff that I have to second guess, like, oh my God.
From your vantage point and your experience, do you think what's happening, especially with AI in music, how much is it genuine progress in how we create and produce and distribute music, and how much of it is just profit?
So that's a great question. I'm gonna answer it as a point of view from the outside looking in, as working with artists. So just imagine that how does AI really contribute to an artist's career? So let's just say that I have to book a producer, which is studio time, his time. I have to look at a writer. I have to look at even coaching. But let's just say that the producer is not reliable. He doesn't follow through with the time of turnaround of the music that you're looking for. As, hey, we're recording a song, you already mix and mastered, but then he's taking his time on sending you the track so you can listen to it, preview it, to see if there's any changes. Then because he's working on 6 and 7 other projects at the same time. So, things get pushed back. Things are just getting delayed and delayed and delayed. And you've already invested a lot of money into this. Now, let's insert AI there. As an artist, you don't have to wait for the producer to get back to you on getting your music back. You don't have to wait for on anybody's schedule. You could produce a song, get it mastered, get it done within a few hours. You could just render everything and get it, done on, ready for mastered within a couple with just a couple bucks. And guess what? You have a song already made and you own everything front to back. You're not waiting on producers, you're not waiting on writers. You're doing everything on your own. And so you eliminate that part from it. You could do that and you could get it done within a few minutes. So now a producer, a writer, a engineer is no longer there anymore. So there's pros and cons.
Do you think Apple and other tech giants are being honest about how they want to use AI?
I don't think nobody's honest.
No one's batting 1,000.
That is a very hard question, but it's like I mean, honestly, these big tech giants has to know that they're what they're doing, but I think they know it in a fact that in a far advanced way where they're looking about 2 or 3 years in advance, 5 years in advance, and so they're looking like we could cut here, cut here, cut here with this software.
Having started my career in aerospace and defense and then going into tech, I don't think tech industries even look 2 years in advance. I think they look maybe 6 to 12 months tops. They figure out how they're going to adjust. They're very good at that. They are very agile. They are able, coming from a Lockheed Martin, we couldn't adjust in 6 months to anything. We couldn't adjust in 2 years to anything. But there was also a reason for that, because you wanted the same engineer building your stealth aircraft for 10 years. You didn't want that person leaving after 12 months. I was going to argue maybe Sam Altman is probably the only person who's like all in on, AI and what it's going to do, and going to be honest because he wants that part of it. He wants that company to succeed. I think everyone else they want a piece of the pie, but how much of that pie and how they're going to use it and fortify. I don't think anyone's being that strategic. I think they are trying to make it to at most the end of the end of the next 12 months.
Look, Megan, I'm tired of answering questions, so I'm going to turn the tables on you because you just said something that I'm glad you did. You said you work for Lockheed Martin, and believe it or not, I've actually took some time to really kind of think of some questions.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Let's go with question number one.
Okay.
With Lockheed Martin, please tell me, have you ever dealt with that famous air base that's in outside Nevada, which is known as Area 51?
I would first say it's known as Groom Lake is the official, because that is the base there. I mean, have I ever dealt with it in an official capacity? No, I've never traveled there. I've flown over it. I've never been there. The extent of what I know is that it is a test airfield. There are aircraft there that get tested. I don't think that's a secret. There are aircraft and things that I'm sure in the next 20, 30, maybe even less years, yes, we'll all of a sudden be talking about, and you will figure out. But there's also a history of that. You can look at SR-71, which is now a declassified airplane, has been for decades. It was tested out there. So,
of course.
I don't know anything about aliens. I don't know if there's aliens out there. I don't know if there's little green men or spacecraft. I wish I did. Trust me. And I will be very honest. I did try to get it out of a couple people. Like I support a couple executives at Lockheed where I was like, just tell me, like under the table, tell me, is there like an alien out there? And I never got an official answer. I'll say that. So,
Huh. Okay. Is it true that those planes that are flying from Nevada, that with the all white with the red stripe, that is the direct airplane to Area 51 or Grooms Lake in and out, which we already know that. But yeah,
Janet,
yeah.
the unmarked one. So yeah, so she is an airplane that takes off from the Vegas airport.
Mhm,
Yep, flies up to Groom Lake. She is red and white.
mhm.
And I always forget it's just another non-existent, and I always forget what the T is. But yeah, she's an unmarked commuter plane. She goes up and takes people up and brings them back.
Yeah, it was funny because I went on a helicopter ride in Vegas, and we the where the helicopters land and where they're where they sit at, it's literally the next stall over is where the planes are at. So I told the pilot, I said, "Hey, did you have to sign any NDAs on seeing anybody or even mentioning all that?" He was like, "So you're familiar with those jets?" I'm like, "Come on, dude!" I put on my conspiracy hat on. I'm like, "Yeah, of course." I mean, dude, I'm like, I love this whole conspiracy of like Area 51 because and I think the U.S. does need to have a secret place to test out things that you don't want nobody to know what airplanes or what jets or we're building that we could be above everybody else. So I think there's a lot of secrets around it.
Well, Rick, before I get in trouble with Lockheed or someone even more secretive on the government side, I think we should just wrap this up with some lightning round questions and put you back in the hot seat. So, are you ready?
And then okay, I am ready. Go for it.
What is your favorite day of the week?
Thursday.
Thursday is the new Friday, isn't it?
Yeah, because Thursday is pretty much when Friday is just like even when I did have a job, it was just like kind of day just to slack off. Is Thursday night is like the new Friday. It's like kind of like I am gonna go to happy hour. If I get a little bit too much, Friday is a day for people to be like,
Mm-hmm.
we understand, we get it. We've been on the same boat. So yeah, Thursday, let's go third day.
What is your favorite room in your house?
The one of not burnt.
So cryptic, but so accurate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you were not doing your current career or anything with music, what would you do?
I would be a therapist, be working with kids with therapy.
You'd be very good at it.
I think so too.
What is your favorite thing to eat on Thanksgiving?
It probably has to be the stuffing. I love the stuffing, and the ham. The ham has to be well done. It has to use like the right amount of brown sugar. The good way to do it is like kind of like the Kirkland style ham is pretty good, but the honey baked ham, ah,
Are you a homemade stuffing or a box stuffing?
box.
Pepperidge Farm, stovetop, what are you doing? All the above?
All the above. I like what's in the box.
You can only keep one app on your phone, so which one survives?
TikTok.
First celebrity crush.
Lark Voorhees from Saved by the Bell. She was Lisa. She actually lived not too far away from me, and she lives actually in the same city I lived in. And I always see her time to time, and she was always it was between her and God. I'm gonna date myself, but Punky Brewster.
Oh, she was. I remember both of them.
Yeah. That was like growing up. That was my crush.
You have met a lot of celebrities. Have you ever asked any of them for their autograph?
The biggest one that I've ever got was and this is the highlight of I think asking a person an autograph is when I went to the mall and I bought this Kobe Bryant plaque, and it was a plaque that somebody made. It was like number I think it was like 23 from 1 to 2. I think only like 200 was ever made. And so when I asked Kobe, out of time I was working at a radio station, he came in and I had him autograph it. And I still have that autograph to this day. That was like one of the few things that I carry with me everywhere I go. I still have it. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should hold on to that.
Yep.
What is the first concert you went to?
it was a lowrider convention show in was it the LA Sports Arena, and I remember seeing Easy, Ice Cube. I saw was it Earth, Wind and Fire. I saw was it Tierra perform. Like I saw all these like old school like, and that was like my first real concert going to. Until that's like was like the very first introduction of music.
What is a book you recommend?
Oh, I hate reading books. Hate it. Hate it.
What is okay? I'm gonna offer an exception for you. What is an album you recommend?
Oh my God. Okay. To this day, I still think Black Eyed Peas album Monkey Business is one of the best, one of the amazing album, track by track, up and down. Fast forward to, let's say, the land space. I still think Un Verano Sentí from Bad Bunny is still an epic album because I think whatever emotions or feelings you're going through, there's a song for that in there. If you're going more in the hip hop style, I mean, can't go wrong with Wu Tang, Nas, Jay Z, Tupac. Fast forward, go into like the Chronic, anything from Eminem. Yeah, I think those are probably my go-to. Those are like the albums I'll to escape from the world of reality.
Being a Detroit girl, I am an Eminem gal as well.
You have to be.
And we touched on it a little, but last one, what's a conspiracy theory you hope is true?
Oh, good old aliens and UFOs. I think we've been there. My goal is to meet one of those green guys and just kind of like shake hands, like, dude, take me. I need some intel. Please help me help you.
Have you seen this like thing that's supposedly on the other side of the sun, and they're starting to say it's like an alien craft?
Yeah.
I'm
Was
like,
was it A5 or something like that? Or
I was gonna say A1, but that's a steak sauce. So
which you know what? I was going to say the A1 as well, but I think it was this. I think it's A3 or A5, something like that. I know there's like it says something, but yes, and the way that they're I mean the actual footage, it looks like a Star Trek, like Star Wars type of shit that's coming out. Like, damn, what is that? Like, what? That's weird.
We could all be in a science fiction movie in the next few weeks. So.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Well, Rick, where can people find you?
You can find me LinkedIn, Rick Morales. You can go to my IGs, Rick Morales Jr. as RickMorales Jr. Or you could always email me as Rick_Morales@me.com.
Well, I encourage everyone to reach out. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for talking about your experience, but more importantly, like sharing all of your knowledge and your wisdom. This has been so enlightening for me. I'm sure our listeners are going to find it as well. So thanks for taking the time.
No, thank you for having me on.
Thanks for listening to The Middle. If today's story resonated with you, drop a subscribe, share the episode, and let's keep these conversations going. Until next time, remember, your story isn't over. You're just in the middle.